So I haven't done a new release review for a while. I thought I'd rectify that today by looking at something dark, smart, sexy and fresh, much like myself. Parallel came out on demand just over a month ago, and it's a film which appealed to me because it's flying under most people's radars, but it has a lot to offer. It also struck a chord with me because it deals with one of my childhood fears. Growing up, I was very much horrified by the idea of parallel universes. I hated the idea that the familiar world around us could be contorted into something ugly and dangerous because of a single decision. Writer David McGowan and director Ava Maxinetti come at this from a refreshing angle. This film's very much a psychological drama, but it's also a romantic one. It deals with a lot of themes around love and lust and trust and guilt and most of all obsession. McGowan himself plays the male lead, a guy called Neil. He meets a very effervescent young woman called Heather at a party. They hit it off and they end up in this rather enviable and healthy relationship of the kind that, of course, all London professionals enter into. Unfortunately, things get mixed up when they meet a medium called Mackless. As a psychic, he has a rather unique ability. He's able to transmit a person into the life of their parallel, basically the person they are in an alternate reality. He's actually kind of reticent about doing this at first because he knows how dangerous it can be. But Heather is intrigued, she convinces him, and he is fairly certain that she's strong enough and good enough that she won't bring aspects of her parallel back with her. Unfortunately, Neil is a skeptic and convinces Mackless to let him try it just so he can debunk him. Unfortunately, he can't, and he becomes obsessed with this wilder, more indulgent lifestyle he's able to live over there. This film is performance led. There's not much going on in terms of visual flourish, but that's not a criticism at all. It hinges on great chemistry, particularly between McGowan and Faye Sewell, who plays Heather. They're very convincing as a couple, and Sewell in particular is great because she's clearly relishing the opportunity to explore a character who herself is exploring multiple aspects of herself. And Neil is entirely convincing as someone whose sense of self and psyche is crumbling around him because he's become obsessed with indulging every desire that he has. This actually ties into one of the strengths of Parallel. It features genuinely erotic scenes. It's not like gratuitous TNA, but it's one of the rare films that you don't see very often that understands what you need to do in terms to make something genuinely sexy. It's in terms of shot choices, production design, performance. You don't see every inch of skin, but what you do see, conceivably could turn you on. And a lot of that again comes from McGowan's very strong script. The dialogue is great more or less across the board, though I did have a me of little faith moment right at the beginning when Heather and Neil meet. I was sort of sitting there thinking, great, I'm going to have 80 minutes of stilted, cliched, awkward dialogue. But I should have had more faith because this was actually a very conscious decision on the writer's part. Neil was trying to chat Heather up, and he's only partially succeeding. In fact, I'm just paraphrasing, but Heather turns to him at one point and says, "If I wanted cheese, I'd just eat these nibbles." That's a very clever line. It's quite amusing as well. And from then on, it's all very natural, and I really appreciated that. I really appreciate those flourishes in the script itself. In terms of criticisms, the pacing does falter at parts, particularly towards the end. The ending isn't quite as satisfying as I hoped it would be as well. It's not a bad ending at all. It just sort of suddenly jumps on you. That was, a somewhat tiny bit disappointing. My main complaints actually weirdly come from the audio. There are moments where it seems to dip in the mix. I can't entirely discount the possibility that has more to do with my setup here. You know, I'm not exactly working for DARPA or anything, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a little tweak in terms of the mixing. And my main criticism is a strange one. It's the choice of music. It's not that the music itself is bad, particularly if you're like me, you like electronica, you like EBM and things like that. In fact, the theme song over the credits, I'm going to find the artist who did that because I think it was great. I just didn't think the music fit the tone that the film was going for. It sometimes sort of jumped on you, and it was just a bit, almost startling in parts. I think they should have swapped it out for sort of music which is a bit more subtle. But as I say, that's a very, very reaching criticism to have of a film which overall is pretty great and definitely at least worth a rental. So yeah, that was Parallel. I do recommend it. As ever with these independent film reviews, of which I want to do more, links to it and any relevant information are going to be down in the description. And thank you so much for watching. If you've seen anything you like on this channel, please subscribe on YouTube. It really helps me out. And have a good one.